where we are going to quickly learn about the architecture of the Hoysalas. So now when it has come to the newspaper, keep this in your mind. From the art and culture perspective, a very probable question can come from this section. What does the news tells us? It tells us that how across the quiet farmlands of Hassan, Mandya and Mysuru stand some of the Karnataka's most remarkable yet overlooked Hoysala era monuments, temples and basadis or the shrines that once formed the spiritual fabric of a thriving medieval kingdom. Built between 11th and 13th century, these shrines actually ends up revealing the dynasty's signature blend of devotion and sculptural mastery extending far beyond the celebrated sites of Belur, Halebeedu and Somanthapura. Halebeedu, basically at that point of time, also called as Dwar Samudra, acted as the capital of Hoysalas. Hoysalas, a medieval dynasty which ruled in the contemporary to the Cholas. So they ruled from 1000 to 1336 CE. Keep this in mind that these temples which has been built by the Hoysalas has also been included in the UNESCO World Heritage Site, and they basically are considered or categorized to be fall in the category of Vesara style of architecture. A question shall arise in your mind that, sir, what is this Vesara style of architecture? To understand that, I hope that you guys are already familiar with the styles of Nagada and the Dravid architecture. So in Nagada architecture, there is Garbhagriha. Garbhagriha is the place where the deity is basically residing and sleeping. Just above the Garbhagriha, there is your Shikhar. Shikhar, which basically is a kind of a curvy linear rising just right above the Garbhagriha, and that basically resembles the Meru Parvat of Purans. So for example, if you will read Bhagavad Puran, after the Mahabharata, when the Pandavas were actually going or taking the route to the Swarg, they were basically climbing the Meru Parvat at that point of time. So Meru Parvat has been basically considered in Purans as the kind of the abode of the gods at that point of time. That is why in the Nagada architecture, just right above the Garbhagriha, there is the Shikhar. In the Nagada architecture, all the subsidiary shrines around the major Garbhagriha will also have their own shikhars, and these are called as Urushringas. But the tallest shikhar will always be above the Garbhagriha. At the entrance, you can actually see the various river goddesses like Ganga, Yamuna. You can see the preserver of wealth like Yaksh and Yakshini. Keep this in mind that in the Nagara architecture, there is a general absence of various kind of Vedikas and Toranas, the various kind of railing system and gateways. However, there is a general absence. It does not automatically applies to all the Nagara architecture temples for sure. Then, where the Garbhagriha is. So Garbhagriha is basically placed at that point of time at the Jagati platform. So there is Adhisthan platform where the kind of the framework has been set. Above that there is a Jagati platform which basically separates the divinity from the devotee. Above that there is Garbhagriha. In the front of the Garbhagriha you will basically find the Mandapa. However, in the Dravid architecture, the entire temple is actually termed as Mandapa. In Nagara architecture, the Nandi shrine, who is right in the front of the Garbhagriha, right? Basically, Nandi is right in the front of Shivji. Shivji is basically sleeping and Nandi is there within the mandapa itself. In Dravid architecture, Nandis are basically kept outside the temple. ठीक? Then the style of creation here is the Panchayatan style. In Dravid architecture, there is basically a kind of a pyramidal stepped tower which is above the Garbhagriha. Now, the original Vimans which were created, so they were basically shot in the height. The later dynasties came, they basically kind of reconstructed those temples. So here in Dravid architecture, there is a less possibility of that the tallest Viman will be over the Garbhagriha itself. Here there is also absence of Uru Shikhar or subsidiary shrines. So subsidiary shrines do not have their specific Vimans. Viman is only right above the Garbhagriha. At the Garbhagriha entrance, in contrast to the Nagara architecture, you will find Dwarpal, Mithun, Navgraha. You will actually find here large Gopurams or gateways. The kunds are actually established within the temple premise itself. So for example, if you will actually go to the Meenakshi temple of Madurai, there is a very beautiful kund which basically exists within the temple itself. The kind of the architecture which prevailed here was your Pancharatha, Triratha, Saptaratha, etc. Now, let's say this Dravidian architecture is being developed by the Palwas of Kachi in the South India, by the kings like Mahendravarman, Narsimhavarman, Rajasimha, right? Narsimhavarman, who will basically build your Pancharatha temple. or Rajasimha who will basically build your Shore temple. So Dravidian architecture is being built there. Nagada architecture is being developed first under the Gupta period, then under, let's say for example, your Jejaka Bhukti of Chandelas, or the Solankis or Chalukyas, right, who also built your Somnath temple. So in between that, there exists a kind of a place where the Uttara Path and Dakshina Path are meeting. So there you can actually see for the first time the development of the Vesra style of architecture in the region of North Karnataka, just south of Satpura range, and that is called as Vesra, first developed under the Chalukya dynasty. So you can recall the rulers like Mangalesha, Pulakeshin II, Loka Mahadevi. They will start creating this Vesra style of architecture, where you can also see the curvy linear shikhar as well as the stepped viman, where you can actually see Bhadra or the multiple projections which will start arising from the temple. You can actually see the Pradakshina Path around the Garbhagriha, and here the various kind of sanctums which exist. Learn the terms: Dvikuta, two sanctums; Trikuta, three sanctums; Skuta, various kind of sanctums. So a very specific temple which has been included in the UNESCO World Heritage Site as well from the Hoysala's architecture is the Channakeshwar temple, where these Hoysalas, they actually started using various kind of very smooth chlorite schist and soapstone to actually make such intricate carving possible. Just imagine there are hundred of deities which are actually kind of has been presented residing in their abode in one pillar itself. Why? Because they are using such smooth chlorite schist and soapstone. Developed on the bank of Kaveri river in Karnataka. Majorly a Vaishnavite temple where you can actually see the influence of Alvars. Alvars who had their specific Vaishnavite literature, like for example Nal Ira Divya Prabandham. You can actually see here the star step Jagati platform and a Pradakshina Path which has been provided around the Garbhagriha. You can actually see various kind of Madanika figures which has been carved on the pillars, as well as the Bhumija style of architecture. So just look at the shikhar. What they have done, they have taken a one picture of shikhar and they have painted such various shikhar on the shikhar itself. Various terms like for example Sukhanasi, the nose of Viman; Mandapa, the pillared hall; your Navaranga, the closed hall; Kirti Mukh or the decorative face motif; your Prastar and Kapot Bandha or the superstructure. These are all the important temples which has been mentioned in the today's newspaper. Just have a quick read. Like for example, this very specific Veer Narayan temple forms to the Hoysala architecture which was built in 1200 CE by King Veer Ballal. The temple is renowned for its very expensive Ranga Mandapa temple. So keep all of these facts in your mind and we move forward to the next news.